Hey guys, so today we are going to do another Photoshop Basics tutorial number 2 and learn some of the most commonly used features of Photoshop for making modifications to photos. Think something along the lines of an Instagram filter like Facetune or something similar, except super precise and in Photoshop. The first thing you're going to need is a photo of an actual person. So I have this one here of Cardi B. And I'm going to go ahead and not only make it a little bigger so that I can zoom in and see some of these features that I want changed, but I'm also going to go over here and unlock my layer. Make sure you do that. If it's locked, you're not going to be able to make changes to it. I only have the one layer right now, which is just this photo. One of the most commonly used things is, of course, the eraser tool. You've probably already found it if you're trying to teach yourself Photoshop. It's right here. It looks like a little eraser pointing down to the left. If you right click on it, or for some people double click, depending on what kind of computer you're on, it has the eraser tool, the background eraser tool, and the magic eraser tool. Eraser and background eraser both do the same thing, except eraser, sorry, I must be on background. Hang on. Nope, I'm not. Eraser usually leaves white behind it, depending on how many layers there are. This must be a true one layer photo. The background eraser will, of course, do just that, erase the background. And then Magic Eraser will try to predict what you're trying to erase and outline the entire thing and erase it. So if I do right here, it's going to pick up a big chunk of this. If I try to click again over here to get more, now it sees her hair, which is pretty dark right here, and the purple, which was pretty dark, as all one thing, and we don't want that. I, in fact, don't want to erase anything on this photo. So I'm going to click Control Z several times to go back where I was. I just wanted to show you the eraser tool. I actually don't want to erase anything on this photo, but it is going to come in handy. It's one of the things everyone asks me about when they're first learning Photoshop. The three other things we're going to learn are the stamping tool, the spot healing brush, and then one of the many filters that's up here called Liquify. Let's start with the stamping tool. The stamping tool, if you watch Photoshop's little demonstration here, will allow you to pick up an area of print and then copy it over. So see, they picked up the cherry and then they copied it over, and everywhere the plus is on the left is then going to be copied with it on the right. So you need to keep that in mind. So it copied that cherry, but then it copied the other one. It copied that one up there. It's particularly useful for things, say you have a photo of a dog out in a beautiful field of flowers and a patch of the flowers is dead. You can use the stamping tool to create a big chunk of flowers from one area and basically copy it and stamp it over the dead flowers so you don't have to see those. In this photo, we're going to use it to get rid of this word Pandora. Let's pretend, I don't know, Pandora was sponsoring this particular event, and then maybe they didn't pay for their sponsorship and they wanted out or whatever. I'm sure they did actually pay for their sponsorship. I'm just trying to think of a scenario in which you would want to take the word out. Oops, sorry, clicked the wrong one. So you want this clone stamp tool. And again, that's where the little cherries were, maybe. Sorry, I didn't mean to double click it. And you can change the size up here, just like you can with the eraser, which I forgot to mention. You can change the size of what you're going to erase, and the paintbrushes and things. And I'm going to erase, hold on, I'm going to erase a tiny bit bigger spot. So I'll do like 42 pixels at a time. And sorry, I keep accidentally clicking that. I'm going to use it to erase the word Pandora. First, you have to go to what you want to copy. So when they copied those cherries, they went to the cherries, they clicked Alt, which is ALT. It's on either side of your spacebar at the bottom of your keyboard, which is what I'm going to do, Alt. And then it gives me this little target. That is the target of what you want to copy. So now I targeted that purple. And if I go up here, I have done this many times. So I'm confused as to why it's not working. Apparently it was operator error. So now it's copying it up here. It was also, though, moving it up here. So I need to make it a little bigger. If I keep going, see how it's going to be kind of funky. But I could go over here and drag this way, and it will get rid of that. So you could use that to kind of fill it in. It's going to make a similar pattern. So you see how it's making 3 lines, kind of like it has down here. So that looks pretty natural for this photo. This is not a solid purple background. It does have a pattern to it in some places. So you could continue on with that if you wanted. It's also particularly good for adding volume to hair in photos. Keep that in mind. If there's a photo, say I wanted to give Cardi, much puffier hair, a lot more volume, I could copy this here and then just draw it out here, or even to add length. It works well for that also. But since we're trying to do a super fast version of some of the basics of Photoshop, we're going to go ahead and move on to the spot healing brush tool, which is right here. It looks like a little band-aid. It has spot healing brush, patch tool, content aware move tool, and red eye tool. For now, we're just going to use the spot healing brush tool. And I'm actually going to zoom in a little more on this so that you can all see. She has a few things on here that we could help deal with. So for example, I'm not sure if you can see it, but she has a small wispy little hair right here that kind of fell in front of her face when they took this photo. So the spot heal brush is perfect for something like that. It's also really good for acne or other blemishes, maybe stray hairs. If a man has shaved, anyone, whatever, has shaved and there's like a hair that you want to take out of a picture, or even something like in the background of a photo, a very small person, you can sometimes use the healing brush tool for. And if you see on the little demonstration, they use it to get rid of these rocks. So it looks at the area around it and tries to figure out what you're getting rid of and what you want to replace it with. It's actually pretty good at figuring that out. So it figured out, okay, you want to get rid of this rock and you want to replace it with the wooden slats that are on the ground underneath it, and it works pretty well. So we're going to do that with this little hair right here for Cardi. So you can tell that she has some makeup on. She has some blush right here. But if we click and drag it along this hair, it's going to actually change it to the color that's around it. So we actually don't want to do that because it's a little too noticeable. So let me click Control Z. For this one, I'm actually going to do a series of small clicks so that it takes the whole color around it as opposed to dragging and dropping. And you can see now that's a little bit better. It added back in the blush and healed it a little more realistically. She also has one down here that's kind of hanging in front of her neck that we could do that with if we want to practice. And we're literally just clicking. You don't have to target anything like you do with the stamping tool. It just tries to predict what you want to fix. She has a few little wispy hairs out here that I'm going to do that to. And I'm not doing the greatest of jobs in the interest of time, but really mess around with this some, because if you can perfect it, it's one of the most useful tools on Photoshop. You see, actually, I went in here a little bit too far and it kind of messed up her hair right there. Why you should. There we go. That's a little more realistic. I just did Control Z a bunch to go back, which is the undo, a shortcut for undo. She also has some little, I don't think it's lint. It might be lint or something on the actual camera lens, but I think it might be glitter that's actually on her neck. She has a spot right here that we're going to touch up and a spot right there. And she has some white spots on her shirt, which again could be glitter, could be lint, could be on the lens, could be on the actual shirt, not sure. But if we tap right here, it should take the black that's around it and yep, use it to cover those spots up. All right, so that's the spot healing tool. And now she's a little bit more cleaned up. It's, like I said, really great for wrinkles. I would hate to take out these cute little laugh lines, but if for some reason the client wanted you to, like if you were working for Cardi and she said, hey, I really dislike those lines, you could definitely go in and do that as well. Something like that. Oops, you can see it got a little bit of her lipstick in that sample though, so it kind of messed up a little. That's why I said mess around with it a little, get comfortable with it so that you don't mess it up. So you've now seen eraser, stamp, and the spot healing brush tool, those are all over here on the left toolbar. We're actually going to, for the last thing, go up to this menu bar and go to filter, which is about in the middle. We'll go down to Liquify, which is one of the most used filters. There are tons in here that you can mess around with to figure things out. And we're going to wait a second. And now that we're on the filter Liquify, it gives us some choices over here. These are used a lot for things like enlarging or shrinking, arms, muscles, different appendages, whatever, arms, legs. Not so much face, but sometimes. And then this is the bloat tool for making them bigger. And we have this one here. I'll show you those really quickly. So bloat, let's say she came and said, okay, you know what? I really want my arm a bit bigger right here, or you could go way bigger. You could flatten it down. Now, obviously, these do not look particularly realistic because I'm showing you for dramatic effect so you can tell what it does. But you could do something like that. But this face, and the same thing with pucker. It will take an area and pucker it in. It is used a lot for waists, which is kind of sad because it gives people unrealistic body. Sorry, got a little sidetracked by this. Body image? I'm not sure that's quite what I'm trying to say, but we're going to go to the face tool. The face tool looks like this little head and shoulders over here, the little bust. Brings up this that says Face Aware Liquify, and it's going to automatically recognize parts of a face, just like it would at Disneyland uses this facial recognition on the way in, or an iPhone uses it to unlock your iPhone if you have that feature on. It's used for all kinds of things. So this has facial recognition, and it says, yes, these are most likely eyes. This is most likely a nose, a mouth, etc., on the edges of the face. It also, let's look at the mouth, gives these two little dots that you can see, one on the left and one on the right. And those are the points that can move on the face. So if we go over here on our Face Aware Liquify, where it says mouth, sometimes it may look like this. You may need to click the triangle to open it. If we click on mouth, let's make her a little bigger so you can really see this. Come on, effect. Sorry, I'm using a trackpad and I'm used to using a mouse. So it's sometimes difficult for me to tap just once and not twice. So on smile, it's also not my laptop, so I'm not as used to it. Sorry about that, guys. On smile, if you notice, this is taking those 2 points, one on either side of her mouth, those 2 points we saw, and moving them down to make her smile less, or up to make her look like she's smiling more. The results are fairly realistic. It just depends on the actual photo. But I mean, I can make her smile like that and it still looks pretty realistic. You can also move around upper and lower lip, the width of the mouth, the height of the mouth, which actually means like where it sits. If you look, like where one lip sits in relation to the other one. If you do it too much, it just makes their teeth look huge, just so you're aware. And you can do that with any of these. You can do it with nose, if somebody wants you to maybe make their nose a little narrower or higher on their face. You can do it with eye tilt. There are a lot of people who naturally, or because of kind of goofs, we'll say, botched cosmetic surgery, have one eye that might be a bit droopy. And so you can change just the left or just the right eye. So change just one eye on this one to be quite large. You can make them pretty different too. Not to be rude, but Paris Hilton comes to mind. She does have one eye that is noticeably thinner or more squinted than the other. And so a lot of Photoshop artists will go in for her photos and make her left eye, which appears on the right side in most photos, a little bit wider for her. Otherwise, if you know who she is, she will turn her face so that the smaller eye or the more closed eye is away from the camera. But a good Photoshop person can just handle that for her if she's a bit concerned. The last thing on the filter Liquify is down here. You also have some mesh and mask options that you can mess around with. I'm not going to go into them at great detail, but there are tons of videos on YouTube where you can do really amazing things with these. Same thing with over here, twirl the clockwise tool or counterclockwise, it doesn't really matter. There's all kinds of fun artistic stuff. It's not really used for realistic photos like this very much because, it's going to literally start twisting them. But it is really fun if you want to do something, like I said, a little more artistic. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel because I don't want to save any of those things. I think she was beautiful just the way she was. And now we've gotten those little hairs out of there. I've shown you how to get the Pandora logo. We've taken care of those little tiny spots. And we could have done more if she had asked or we thought it was necessary. If you have any more questions about some of the basics for altering photos, please go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. I will try to get back to them as soon as I can. And please keep an eye out for the more advanced Photoshop tutorials that will be coming in about 2 weeks. And thanks for watching. See you guys later. Bye.